Welcome back to the Competitor Talk. This is your host, Kyle Dangler. This podcast is presented by Lad Creative Works, and today we're very fortunate to be joined by one of the on-air personalities at MLB Network host, Steven Nelson. Now, Steven is one of the MLB Network studio hosts, and he appears on multiple programs throughout the network, including The Rundown, MLB Tonight, and Intentional Talk. Now, before he was at MLB Network, he also was a host at Bleacher Report, which is one of the online sports media sites, and he was calling games, and he was also being one of their hosts on their streaming services where you could check out some of their apps, and they had players come in, and he would do a lot of different interviews, and he did a lot of stuff over there as well. And before that, he was also at Chapman University, where he interned with the Los Angeles Angels during college and the Anaheim Ducks. So he's done a lot of stuff in the sports media world, and he was also named to Forbes' 30 Under 30 in sports list in 2016. And he also serves on the NHL Network as a host because MLB Network and NHL Network are partnered together. So one of my biggest role models. I love seeing him on TV. Someone I look up to. Trying to get into the broadcasting world. He's definitely someone that you want to take a lesson from and hear from. Just about his time, paving his way to where he is now at MLB Network, which is one of the biggest and largest sports media brands in the world. So we're going to give him a call now, and we're going to be talking to him about his time in college, his internships, and then throughout that, choosing Bleacher Report, the tough decision to go there, and then how he kind of landed his role at MLB Network. So it's going to be an interesting conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. Hey, how are you, Steven?
Kyle, what's up, man?
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Yeah, so you want to just get going right away? We're live on the Competitor Talk. Are you ready to get going?
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
All right. Yeah. So I just wanted to start off with, being in sports, doing broadcasting also, just before we get into the nitty-gritty of, how, you went about getting your way to the MLB Network. Just curious, any specific thing that led you towards, loving sports broadcasting as a kid? I mean, were you a big sports fan and, you were a big, talker in school? I mean, how did it go for you to, come on? How did it go, to, get to this point?
Yeah, it has been, I guess, a long journey because, I mean, a diehard sports fan growing up, just kind of copied Dad. I just wanted to be exactly like my father and, loved his team. So, Chicago Blackhawks, Chicago White Sox, Bears, the Lakers. And, it was my dream to play it. I wanted to be in it. I didn't really care what sport it was, but I just wanted to be an athlete. Now, at some point, genetics kicks in for a lot of us, right? You figure out that it just ain't going to happen. And that was the case for me. I did not get my dad's 6'2.5" jeans. I got my mom's 5 feet and change jeans, a little bit, so right in the middle. And, those who can't do, teach, or for sports people, those who can't do, talk about. And when I was in junior high, actually, I took a video production class, and that sort of kind of sparked this interest in the production side specifically, and it kind of stuck with me. Throughout high school, that's when I started playing more competitive golf, and I was like, maybe golf is the road I go down. And then that sort of, I hit a point in high school where I was like, okay, you know what, like, this isn't a viable option for me. Like, you're not Tiger Woods or Phil Mickelson or, one of the elite. Like, it's a tough life, trying to be a professional golfer. So, not that I was that good enough anyway, but, so then I really started to focus on, okay, what can I do to be in sports the rest of my life? And, then that video production class kind of came back to me, and then I started looking at colleges and programs that had the television broadcast journalism aspect to it where it fit. And so, being from Southern California, I didn't want to go too far from home. So I found a place called Chapman University, a little small school that's down the street from Angel Stadium and the Pond or Honda Center where the Ducks play. And it was just a perfect fit. It was a small school, a new film school had just opened up, and they had this television broadcast program. Bill McAtee, CBS Sports, was an adjunct there. I sat in on one
Yes, just.
And thankfully, oh, I'm sorry, Kyle, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask you. Being that that was your first, second, third choice. I mean, just looking, reading up about you. I mean, even during school and after school. I mean, you were very involved in a lot of different things. I mean, what kind of anything sparked your interest really? I know in college. I mean, you were a sports reporter and anchor. I mean, is that something that you knew you were gonna have to do in order to work your way up?
Yeah, my mindset in college was to do everything. Do anything and everything involved, even tangentially involved in the industry. So, internships, and I know this is something you and I have talked about on the side, how much I love and appreciate internships. And it wasn't just, okay, I'm going to go intern at this sports network or this TV station. No, I did advertising. I did public relations. I wanted to get as many different looks at this thing as I could to figure out where exactly my true passion was. So, yeah, did I want to, in my heart of hearts, be on camera? Absolutely. But I needed to know how people thought about things and looked at situations from a PR standpoint, how advertising kind of married in with sports, and if that was a place that I could connect. Behind the scenes, I did ingest tech stuff at Fox Sports West. I did logging, where I never even, sniffed holding a microphone with an official mic flag to add to my reel. But then that was okay. I didn't want to bother anybody. I genuinely wanted to see this side of things, because the line I always say, the more you know about what goes on behind the camera, the better you're going to be in front of the camera or the mic, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So that was kind of how I attacked college. I did everything that was available to me from a school standpoint, whether it was Chapman News, from the broadcast news, TV standpoint, Chapman Radio, to try and stretch myself out and learn how to talk. There are times where you're scrambling for information. You got to buy some time, so you need to talk without maybe saying anything. Radio helps you do that. So it was just basically getting as many, to use the golf analogy, get as many clubs in the bag as I could to prepare me for what was next.
Yeah, so just going through college, I saw that you worked with the Angels and you worked with the Ducks over out in California. I mean, just working for those two different franchises. I mean, is that something that you saw as an opportunity for you to get involved, but also see which sport you liked a little bit better to eventually go over to MLB Network?
Yeah, in hindsight, that's a really good question. At the time, I was like, no, I'm gonna get to be in college and also, have a paying job in sports. Sign me up. That was it was as simple as that. That Chapman being so close there were so many connections, and I'm so fortunate to have had those doors kind of cracked open for me to walk through. But baseball and hockey have always been two sports that I've absolutely loved. Hockey I played longer, and I wish that I gave baseball more of a chance.
Yeah.
Playing it just to play it a little bit longer. I'm not saying it would have gone anywhere, but even though I stopped playing it, I always watched and followed along and looked at the stats and watched the highlights and studied the trivia and all that. So hockey and baseball, I had a love for those two sports for the entirety of my life, and even though I didn't cover them fully at every stop, they were kind of always involved in a way. After I left college, going to Rockford, which is minor league hockey, so boom, I'm in it. Going to local TV in Oregon, and there wasn't any hockey. Though I did do a story on Oregon's club hockey team, there was definitely Pac-12 baseball.
Yeah.
And then Bleacher Report. That's where I kind of had to put hockey and baseball in the back burner a little bit to focus on football and basketball. But as I said, never stopped following, never stopped playing fantasy sports, and sort of just being in a little bit. And so now to be at MLB Network and NHL Network, it's really a dream come true, because we're living and breathing those two sports.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. So, just, going through, after college, I know, you during college you worked with the Anaheim Angels and the Ducks. And then after that, you said before, you did some local TV and then you went to Bleacher Report. I'm just curious, when do you feel, a lot of people probably ask you this question, when do you feel you finally found your voice and, you understood, what you had to do in front of the camera to, be successful?
Kyle, I absolutely love the phrase that you just said, found your voice, because ultimately that's what it comes down to for everybody. And it's not just broadcasters, it's writers as well. It's directors and producers. You have to find your voice, your vision in this thing. If you try to be somebody else, like growing up, everybody wanted to be the late great Stuart Scott. Everybody, right? You wanted a catchphrase. You wanted to be Dan and Keith on Sports Center. I wanted to be, Hawk Harrelson or Bob Miller, or Pat Foley. I wanted to be those guys. But if I spent my life trying to imitate them, I would get nowhere.
Yeah.
So for me, to answer your question, I found my voice at Bleacher Report because, and I don't say that disrespectfully dismissive of my time in local TV or in Rockford, during my internship with the Ice Hogs. It's just when you go to school for it, like I did, you kind of learn to do things a particular way, a cookie cutter way. How to doing a live shot. My voice, I'm taking and receiving the live shot in a certain way. I'm delivering the information with a certain cadence. And at BR, it sort of clicked. What am I doing? I don't talk like this with my friends. I don't talk like this with my family when I'm discussing sports. So why don't I do it when I'm on the air? Because then the people who are consuming the content, they're not getting a true, authentic experience of me. Not that that's anything anybody would want anyway.
Yeah.
But I needed to at least make this a true thing for myself. I needed it to my passion and my thoughts and my love for this business to come through genuinely.
Yeah.
And so that's where kind of I was able to shed my skin or kind of shake off the shackles in a way of traditional broadcasting or how I was taught, cookie cutter way, and just be me. And that doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes anymore. My goodness, anybody who watches MLB Network at any show network, they can see I still make plenty of mistakes on the air. That's not what it's about. It's about just being yourself out there. And as cliche as that is, and as commonly as I heard that, in college, looking back, like it is just that simple, and it is just that true. Is you have to find your voice, only your voice, and that's how you're going to find your way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I totally agree. I just read, an article, where someone was asking you questions about that, and you mentioned that, finding your own voice and, doing it your own way, you owe it to the people to, be yourself on camera so, they get the true self. I mean, once you did that, did you find that you enjoyed it a little bit more because you could, be yourself rather than, trying to be someone else?
No question. No question about it. And honestly, like, it just, I don't even know how to describe it accurately, Kyle. It is.
Like, does it almost feel like it's not even a job anymore? Just kind of like.
Absolutely. Boom. Just like that. Like, I'm able to just go out there now and have a conversation. And I'm not thinking so much about segments or questions. I'm able to just read what the analyst is saying, listen to what the analyst is saying, and just engage with them. And, producers and the people behind the scenes, I can't credit them enough for letting us do that. It really is this massive team effort. It is not just the talking heads and the faces you see on camera doing it. It is the people behind the scenes painting a picture and going with the flow. Okay, we maybe talked about one thing in a production meeting, but our guys are in a different place right now. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
And once once you're comfortable being yourself, you're not worried about what they're thinking about. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I do.
In the back of your mind, you're always thinking like, oh, okay, well, I wonder where they want to go next. Well, no, I'm not so much consumed with those thoughts and worries now. I can just sort of hang out with my friends on the desk and shoot the breeze about stuff.
Yeah, so just talking about that. I mean, once you did that, I mean, just going through, I know you went from small TV to, Bleacher Report to now MLB Network. I mean, I'm sure they have all different, processes, but do you get like a script that, has a couple different, analysis and guidelines to follow, and then you kind of just go from there? Or, how do you prepare for a show?
Oh, yeah. I personally, I hate the teleprompter. Absolutely loathe it. Even when it's something like, just reading a sponsorship element, I just hate it. I would rather just go and riff, and if maybe my brain doesn't make sense, whatever it formulates, maybe it's a lot worse than what's in the prompter, but I'm still okay with that. So no, it's not really scripted. Yes, we have things that we want to talk about. It's basically like, you're jotting down notes in a class. You write down bullet points, but you're not going to write down everything they say. And for me, it's just sort of taking note of what the analyst feels most passionate about, because that's ultimately my job. It's to play point guard. It's not to be. Nobody cares what I have to say. I didn't play. I understand how much of a nobody I am out there. My job is to tee up the analyst and make them look and sound as good as possible, because that's what the viewers are tuning in for. They're tuning in for their expert insight and honestly to have a good time consuming information and having a fun experience. That's my only job. So when they're talking in the meeting and going through the various news bulletins of the day or highlights of the day, I'm making maybe either a mental note or jotting down a literal note of where their emotions are, where their passion is that day, and maybe where the points of disagreement or contention are, and trying to see the best ways to explore that. That's where I'm at now. Certainly in local TV, I was far more. I was. You're trying to build up your reel. You're trying to script out all these points and trying to, to make these things happen, so to speak. When you're writing out your sportscast, your 3-minute sportscast, that's a good line. And writing is absolutely important, and it is, I think, becoming more and more of a lost art in the business. I think people, they find their crutches, their script crutches, and they rely on those a lot. So, writing those out for a teleprompter, you're able to kind of flex your creative muscles there with your script as well. So that's just kind of, one thing that I don't want to get lost in the shuffle there. But yeah, it has been an evolution of, trying to write out all these things and make sure I hit this, that, and the other. Whereas now, it's like, we're going to do shows, and then you'll finish and be like,
go with the flow, yeah.
I went with the flow there. I didn't talk about that one thing that I maybe wanted to hit on going into the show. But it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow, or maybe we'll do it next time we're all together. It's okay. So, yeah, it is sort of just like you learning to go with the flow and figure out what works for you. Like I said, I hate the teleprompter, but some people, they're more comfortable, typing things out, and they're able to get those creative juices flowing a little bit more as they sit down, at the computer and they're in ENPS and writing out a story. But, there's no one way to have a good show.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so I just wanted to, touch on, going from there, talking about, how to go through a show. I mean, just your time at Bleacher Report. I mean, you mentioned a little bit about you did more basketball, football stuff. I mean, I know it wasn't on TV per se, but I mean, was it on their website and, YouTube and, other social media platforms? And that's how, it kind of got to the world. I mean, how did it branch out a little bit differently from, say, local TV?
Bleacher Report is such a fascinating place. When I got there, it's so funny looking back because I think we all can agree that Bleacher Report is an absolute monster in this business.
Oh, absolutely.
But when I was looking to leave Eugene back in 2014, I guess it was, I had the audition at Bleacher Report one week, and the very next week I had an audition at a local TV station in Houston. Houston's a top 10 market, and again, growing up with the mindset of you start in the low market, you work your way to a mid market, then maybe a mid to high market, and then you get to the high market. For me, I'm like, top 10 markets looking at me like Bleacher Report. I used to write for Bleacher Report in college for free. Like, what is Bleacher Report even doing? Like, what do they want? Well, at the time they were building out the Team Stream Now app, and they had a host in Adam Lefko, who to this day is a star and a close friend of mine. They were looking to kind of build that out and add to the team, and I honestly was leaning toward taking the job in Houston. I have to credit my wife, who's she's a news anchor in DC right now. She's like, if you turn down going to New York, I will kill you. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to New York. And Bleacher, it was kind of this like this factory. You were just kind of cranking out videos, doing 150 videos a week, for each team. Like if you're a fan of the Lakers, you had the Team Stream Now app, you had the Lakers stream. All right, well, we're doing a 2-minute video on the latest rumblings with free agency or the NBA draft. If you're a fan of the Bulls, then we did another 2-minute video with one of their writers, and so it was a mobile app, and it was obviously a website as well. So it's a digital platform, and Turner had acquired it. So every now and then you'd see it pop up. We'd do something for TNT, and when that happened, it was like, oh my gosh, we're gonna be on TNT like halftime inside the NBA. Like, this is incredible. But BR, I think was ahead of the curve in recognizing the power and the influence of digital and social media in this industry, and how Gen Z, everyone's going to mobile. And now everybody's kind of buried in their phones, and you have all this information right at your fingertips. And now it's like highlights. My generation, it's like you had to wait till SportsCenter at night, and you love doing that to consume whatever happened in your team's favorite game. Now
you pull out your phone,
and it's right there. You don't have to wait for anybody anymore. And so the game has totally changed. And Bleacher, I was very lucky to be there when I was, and kind of just be a part of that wave. And but that's it. What? Going back to your original question, I can't tell you how many conversations I had, whether it was with family members, going back home, or friends who weren't quite as locked in to the mobile and digital space. They'd be like, okay, so what is the Bleacher Report? Like, is it? And I would explain, like, oh no, it's like on your phone, it's an app, like you sign up, and hey, like sign up for, you're a Chargers fan, like get the Chargers stream, or you like golf, like there's a golf stream, like you see here, I do it with them, and then I'd finish and I'd be like, oh, okay, but like can we also see it on TV? Like, no. And unless you maybe watching Inside the NBA one night, like once every month or whatever it was. So it was such a unique experience and a unique place.
Yeah, awesome. So, I just wanted to touch on real quick a little point you made before. You talked about writing for Bleacher Report in college. I mean, I feel also, I don't know, your opinion, but I feel that, it's becoming a lost art, as more people are downloading, social media apps and, just wanting to click 15-second video rather than, reading an article. I mean, is that something that you still are passionate about writing about sports, or are you kind of more just broadcasting now?
Yeah, I don't write as much as I used to, at least in an official capacity. But I don't think that you have to necessarily put pen to paper or bang out 1,500 words on your laptop to be a writer. I do think there's something to be a little bit, but I think just as simple as something as the trade deadline yesterday, right?
Yeah.
And you're taking a bit of news, and sure, you could say like the Astros make the biggest splash acquiring Zach Greinke.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could, and many people would when they're delivering the news on the air. But you could also be like, okay, well, how can I deliver this a little bit more uniquely, and try to maybe work in a joke or some alliteration or some history, or I don't know, anything.
It's something a little different.
Give it a little bit of color. Whether something as cheesy as like after Houston doesn't have any problems in the starting rotation because they're getting a Hall of Famer and Jack Greinke. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Again, which is that is people in Houston are like, oh, please don't say that. Please don't do a Houston we have a problem joke. But you know what I mean? I think there is that avenue to just say, and I'm gonna put my own spin on this little nugget, this little line, this transition, this segue, this bump.
Yeah, make it your own.
You can write you can write within a show, and sure, it's not going to be a stanza or a 2-minute soapbox segment. It can just be one line, but your ability to write and kind of mold words into your own like piece of art. Like I do think that's important, and I do think that could be a beautiful thing sometimes. And there are sometimes when it happens naturally, and you're like, I didn't think about that; it just came out that way, and you kind of give yourself a pat on the back. You're like, okay, like that was good. Like maybe there's something else to explore there, and down the line in a future show. So yeah, I think there are a lot of ways to sort of work on, improve and be a writer in this industry.
Yeah, definitely. So, just after your time at Bleacher Report, I know now you're at MLB and NHL Network. I mean, I saw on, YouTube, I mean, you had your highlight reels, before you got accepted for the job on MLB Network. But I'm just curious.
Oh, no. I think I need to go on.
No, they were fine. No, yeah, they were awesome.
Okay.
No, yeah, I was just wondering, you have your highlight reels on there, it's definitely something, people should check out. But, I'm just curious, I mean, did you have to audition again, or was it kind of just an interview? I mean, how did you know also to, it was time to leave Bleacher Report and try something new? And also, how did you come in contact with the network?
Bleacher Report was definitely an audition, just like it was an audition for the place in Houston. You go down there, they throw you on set, they give you some topics. Bleacher, I was very lucky that I had Chris Sims as my analyst that day because I was sweating bullets. That was my first official audition. Yeah. I mean, I was nervous as hell, and I can't tell you. I didn't honestly. I got in. I flew into New York. I don't know if I slept that night. Maybe a couple hours. Because I was just so consumed with trying to know the New York Giants roster and cap situation and draft situation, back and front, and, study the NBA, and then I get there and I'm on set and, I won't curse on your podcast, but Chris Simpson bursting through the doors and he's just letting it fly, and I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like, like this ain't that serious. Let's just have fun with this guy. He's an animal, and Simsy became a friend over the years at Bleacher Report, and now he's a stud for NBC Sports. But that sort of honestly, that being my first audition experience, it kind of changed my life. One, it gave me the opportunity to work at Bleacher Report, but two, every time I went into an audition after that, like. Yeah, you're going to be a little nervous. Yeah. Like, I'm nervous before every single show, and that lets me know that I'm in the right spot. But it's also, this ain't that serious. This ain't life or death. And so when the door to MLB and NHL Network sort of presented itself in my life, I went there, and once again, I was very lucky to have a guy like Al Leiter, Jersey boy, just like Chris Sims, lets it fly, and you don't really know exactly what he's going to say or how he's going to say it. You sort of just kind of have to go with it.
Yeah.
And he and Kelly Nash and Jamie Hirsch, I mean, those two are angels, in addition to being studs.
Yeah.
And they made the experience so easy, so enjoyable. And it didn't feel like an audition. It just felt right. It felt natural. It felt like I was supposed to be there with them. And so now it's just, I can't tell you how blessed I am to actually call those people colleagues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I learned from them. Iron sharpens iron, like it's absolutely the case.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I fully answered your question there, but
no,
I think the audition process, maybe a little nerve wracking, but you know what? I almost forgot the part of your question, how I kind of got connected with the network. Networking is something that is widely talked about ad nauseum when you're growing up in this business.
Yeah.
Whether it's through internships or chance meetings or family friends or 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon connections. Like you want to meet as many people as you can and develop relationships, not just use them. That happens so often. Like, you get an email address or a phone number, and then it's like you call that number, or you hit up that email when you need something.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like I think it was always more about cultivating relationships.
Yeah, actually knowing the person.
And knowing the person and picking their brains. Like, we're just talking to them. Like, hey, how's he? I'm talking to you about an internship or maybe trying to get feedback on a reel. But like, hey, also, like, I remember last time you talked, your kids were playing basketball. Like, how are they? Like,
yeah.
I think you don't want it to feel so transactional.
Yeah.
But like, I get it. You're young. You're trying to work your way up, and so you're like, all right, well, and you don't want to waste anybody's time. So it's like, I'm just gonna get what I need, and we're gonna move on. I was just never wired that way. Yeah. So anyway, in my time, in this industry, you meet people who are in certain places, and maybe you don't work with them then, but down the line, it's a possibility, and that was the case. I've known one of the producers, certainly known the reputation of this place. One of the great producers at Bleacher Report, named Johnny Sweet, just did an awesome documentary on Ron Artest's life. He knew a ton of people at MLB Network because he worked with them at ESPN a little bit. He's like, it's the best run sports network in America.
Yeah.
And you'd be lucky to work there. And then I had, a personal connection with one of the producers, and they happened to be looking, and so I was able to steal an audition from somebody out there, and obviously the rest is history. But that's sort of kind of how it all came about. Kyle, I apologize. I'm rambling.
No, it's awesome. I mean, I'm totally 100% tuned in. I mean, it's just great to hear. Yeah. So talking about networking, I'm definitely, on agreement with you have to also show that care about the person. You're just not looking for one specific thing from them. You got to show that you care, and also that maybe once in a while you can ask feedback or something.
One more time, Kyle. Kind of lost you for a second.
Oh no, I was just saying that I agreed with your statement that you have to care more about the person and just using them for an internship. You gotta build a relationship, become friends, and understand them to
It's not just for networking either. I think it's paramount when you're doing stories. I found when I was in local TV, when I was a beat reporter, I was covering Oregon State athletics. So I'm traveling with the football team. I'm with the basketball and baseball teams. Pretty much every game.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so my job though is to cover the team, and to at times, break news. Okay. But I found in my time there that I wasn't cut out to be the newsbreaker. I just wasn't like for me getting to know the players, and again, these were they're college athletes, they're kids. Just like me, I wasn't that much older than them. I'm a kid too, or a kid in the industry anyway. And I found like I just felt a little dirty personally. I'm not saying that those the newsbreakers are dirty. Like
you didn't want to be that person.
It is a grind, and it is a thing to be commended and lauded. Those who do it and do it well and do it right. I want to emphasize that last part. But for me, I found like I was able to make connections and build relationships with athletes, and I would find some stuff out. Whether it was just as little as injuries or as big as teams that they were talking to in a time when it was time to go pro, when their contracts got done, etc. But I just never cared enough about that clout. I never cared about the retweets enough to be like, all right, well, that's what I'm going to go all in on.
Yeah.
Like, no, I wanted to get to know these guys and kind of the layers of who they are, not just as players, but as people. Because so often in sports, we consume these athletes as stat lines and
rather than people,
fantasy points, and not as humans. And I got to tell you, like it bothers me a lot. Like so that's something that like I've always kind of been a part of me. And honestly, like there are times again, like did I lose out on maybe building up a bigger profile, building bigger sources? Sure. But at the same time, like the way I went about it, I was able to tell some special stories, maybe stories
do it your way
that didn't get out there a ton, but like being able to Storm Woods, like a running back at Oregon State, like when we went to Alamo Bowl and he grew up in Pflugerville, Texas, not so far away, like Storm felt comfortable enough with me that I was able to go to his house and sit down with his mother and his grandmother and meet his little sister and do a story on him being back home.
That's awesome.
Or Andy Peterson, the second baseman for Oregon State's baseball team, as they went toward Omaha, who lost both of his parents to cancer in a short amount of time, but he was he was the glue that held the lineup together, and he was comfortable enough sharing those heartbreaking points in his life with me because he knew that I wasn't gonna just tear it to shreds, that I was gonna take care of it, so to speak, and share it with respect and love and care.
I'm sure that's humbling for you too.
Tremendously. Yeah, like to this day, like that Andy Peterson story is maybe the most important thing or my favorite thing that I've ever done. And I look back and there are like broadcast and editing and shooting elements that I wish were better. I wish I would have chose better music there, or because you're one man banding, so you're shooting, you're editing, you're writing, you're doing all this yourself. I wish I would have done this a little bit differently. But you know what?
The content was real.
Everything that went into that, like that was substantial. Like that was real, and that was visceral and meaningful. And I don't care that he didn't make the big leagues. I couldn't care less about that thing or that aspect of it. It just meant more that
he would share that with you, that information.
Exactly. So to get back to the original point, networking and relationships. And I'm not saying that take Ken Rosenthal for example, biggest newsbreaker in a baseball game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Ken isn't human. I'm not saying that Ken doesn't go about things the right way at all. So I want to clarify that.
No, absolutely.
And make sure that comes across. But it is all about cultivating relationships and doing so in a human way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So just as we're getting to the end of the podcast, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I just wanted to, just
You're fine.
pick your brain with final thing. Being at MLB Network, it's something that a lot of people listening probably definitely look forward to seeing at night, whether it's MLB Tonight or you guys talking on the rundown. Just curious, what so far has been your favorite moment at MLB Network?
Oh gosh. Oh man.
Any specific episode or scene or kind of something stand out for you? Any conversation or?
Goodness. I mean, that is a tremendous question. It's such a basic one, but one that I was not prepared to answer.
I'm sorry.
Let's see, Kyle. And, it's hard because this is going to start out sounding like such a cop-out cliche. When every day is as fun as it has been, it's hard to single out one. I've had some outstanding experiences, whether it be calling the World Junior Championships or, oh man.
No, it's all right. I didn't want to put you on the spot. I mean, it's fine.
No, and I'm sorry for killing airtime here with silence. This is brutal for you, so that's on me.
No, it's fine.
I'm hard pressed to pick out one because there's so many different personalities that we get to interact with from an analyst standpoint or a co-host standpoint. I think, you know what? I'm not going to cop out. I'll say my first time filling in on Intentional Talk. Yeah, you know what? I think so often people are like, I can't pick just one. It's like trying to pick a kid. Like, no, I was genuinely trying to give you a real answer. My first time hosting Intentional Talk, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every day before every show, there is a pre-production meeting. Just a call for everybody, from producers to talent to graphics to research, to get on the same page.
Yeah.
And IT is kind of on the phone because Chris Rose, the everyday host, and
Kevin Millar usually.
Kevin Millar, they are once in LA, once in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
And Rosie happened to be out that day, so I was kind of pinch hitting. And so I'm on the phone call, and Kevy's kind of known to not be. Sometimes he's on the call on time, and sometimes he's not.
Yeah.
So this is one of those days where he was just a little bit late. So everybody's on the call, but Kevin, he gets on the phone. And so Anthony Jimenez, the producer that day, all right, Kev, you're going to be on with Steven Nelson today. Rosie's out, and Millar just goes, who?
Oh.
Who is that? And we poked fun of it on the show. He's like, we never met. Right? We never worked with each other. And we poked fun of him. He's like, I thought you were some bullpen pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds, and we were going to have an interview guest or something that day. So we turned it into a running bit. Like I wore a name tag on the show that day. I did I have the whiteboard, the hashtag board. So that was who was plastered on that. But for me, it was another example of one, just the fun that show is, and two, that I am a nobody in this thing, and honestly, I'm not fishing. I promise you. I remind myself that I am still the jabroni that couldn't get a job out of college to save his life. Like, even though I did everything there was to do at Chapman, I for whatever reason, I just didn't hear anything back. News directors just didn't want to hire me, so I had to do an unpaid broadcast internship in Rockford, one that ultimately altered the course of my life, and I'm forever grateful for. But I'm still the guy that went to Eugene and had a boom goes the dynamite moment during a high school basketball highlight where I ran out there without my script, and I had to try and find my way through a highlight, and I did not do it. And if that clip ever surfaces, boy, will you have a laugh, because it was brutal. So, again, I think, I understand how ego happens in this industry once you get to a certain point, but it's something that I absolutely loathe. I loathe ego, I value humility, and I truly believe that, whatever my standing is in the network,
collective
So
effort.
it's a collective effort. So that Who story, one, it was an amazing laugh. It was really sparked a friendship with 1-5, and also a good bit.
Mm.
But it was just, it kind of embodies or symbolizes, something that I genuinely believe and think about in this industry.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so, I just wanted to ask you one quick question just because you mentioned it before, and then we'll wrap up. I don't want to take up too much of your time. You just mentioned, you ran out on the court, without your script. And, you said if that video ever surfaces, it'd be bad. But I'm just curious, just having that moment, just going through your process throughout your whole career so far. Obviously you try to keep on progressing. But would you say, getting more airtime, getting more chances ultimately helps you get better every day?
Without question, reps, and being okay, being comfortable. Like when those mistakes happen, not burying your head in the sand and cowering with embarrassment. Like having Jake Stibb and Eric Elkin, they were two other members of the sports department in Eugene when I was there, and to this day, two of the best friends that I have in this world. They were making fun of me within a very short amount of time after that show ended, and that kind of helped me move on. To this day, I cringe thinking about it. But honestly, that's why I'm such an advocate for the local TV route and kind of cutting your teeth in a small market. Now there are different ways to do that, whether it's starting your own YouTube channel or your podcast like yourself, Kyle, and kind of manufacturing those reps for yourself, because that's how you grow. That's how you kind of shed your skin and take another step forward. And at times, after you make a mistake, does it feel like you took 2 steps back or 10 steps back? Sure. In the case of my girls' high school basketball highlight, it does feel that way. But no, now I know. Now I'm better for it because I'm going to make sure to run to the printer first, or I'm going to make sure to try and type out the script into the prompter, or at least write down the names. Maybe I don't need to script out the highlight, but at least get the names down. Or hey, there's a flash frame in the edit there. Now, hey, I'm going to make sure I got to watch it back one more time and make sure that I clean up this edit. So having those repetitions, those live rounds, so to speak, and then also looking back and seeing, all right, at what point did I mess up? At what point could I be better? That is paramount. And I feel like it should go without saying. But do not let the mistakes kind of fall by the wayside in your growth and development.
Absolutely, yeah. That's something definitely people listening to should definitely just own up to. Definitely, like you said before, just owning up to stuff and trying to fix it. That's how you're only going to get better. Yeah. So I just wanted to wrap up and say thanks for joining us. I know we took up a lot of your time, but really meant a lot to us. Get to talk to you for a few minutes. And then, just wanted to congratulate you. Back in 2016, you were on the under 30 for, sports media. So, I just wanted to say, I wanted to touch on that before, but, that's just such an honor, from Forbes. I just wanted to say, congrats on that. And, we'll definitely keep on watching.
Kyle, I wish you didn't bring that up, because then that's a reminder to Forbes that it made a mistake 3 years ago. No. It was a gross oversight from one of the premier publications, but don't tell anybody, because I don't want them to retroactively remove that from the resume. But no. And in all seriousness, thank you for taking up as much time as you did. It was an honor to chat with you. It really was. And as I have told you off the air before, I don't want folks to hesitate if they're passionate about this industry and they want to get involved. Don't wait to reach out. I'll get back to you, because I didn't get to this point without people taking their time and sharing their knowledge with me.
Absolutely.
So there's always another wave behind us, and I think it's our job, it's our responsibility to make sure that wave is bigger than the one we're on.
Absolutely.
So whatever you need, I'm here.
Thank you. Yeah, that really means a lot to me. Just being a fan of the show and you on the air. I mean, that means a lot to have you on the show, and also that show that you care about helping people who are trying to get into the industry as well. So I just wanted to say thanks for coming on. Thanks Lou too over at MLB Network for helping set this up, and have a good rest of your day.
He's the man.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
I know. Appreciate you, man.
Bye.
All the best.
You too, man. Yeah, so that was Steven Nelson from MLB Network. It was great talking to him. He's the on-air host of MLB Tonight, The Rundown, and, guest stars on Intentional Talk with Kevin Millar sometimes. So, it was awesome to talk to him. This is something that, if you're passionate about broadcasting, like he said, I mean, don't hesitate to reach out. Try to make connections and, take an interest, invest your time in getting to know people and learning the industry, because one day, you can end up having your dream job like Steven mentioned before. So we just wanted to thank him again and MLB Network. It was an honor to have him on the show. I wanted to just thank Lou again over at MLB Network, who helped set this up with Steven. Just being public relations over there, we had to go through him and set this up. So thank you for taking the time to do that as well. And, if you're passionate about broadcasting, don't hesitate to talk to me about it, just about some of the experiences that I've had, or if you want to just get connections, keep on typing away to people, calling people, trying to get involved in the industry. It's great to have Steven on, such an honor, someone that I definitely look up to, and want to not be specifically like he said before, because you don't want to aspire to be someone, because then you won't be your true self, but someone that I look up to that did it the right way, and someone that you should definitely try to emulate, because one day you can end up having your dream job like him. So thanks for joining us. Have a good rest of your day.